welcome to the April 8th meeting of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. April already. I'm over 3/4 of the way through my presidency. Can you believe that? Oh, come on. For those of you live streaming, there was thunderous applause at that. So we're glad to be here at the Wakanda Club with all of those of you here in person today, and those watching our live stream, and those watching later on our YouTube channel. Welcome to all of you. As always, we will be sanitizing the microphone between speakers. We do ask that you keep your masks on when not eating or drinking or speaking from a microphone. And as always, thanks to Invictus Media for providing our live stream services today. And now, 9 times past president, 10? Oh, he says it's 10 times past president. Skeet Wooten will give a brief moment of inspiration, and then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the 4-way test. Past President Skeet.
Thank you for that vapid response. Yes, please rise. You too. As I was thinking about what to say today for an inspiration, the subject, of course, is Adventureland, which is Des Moines' amusement park. I struggled to find what I thought was the right theme. As you all know, we are living in a toxic political culture now, where different sides look at each other as enemies, not necessarily fellow citizens. So it's all about taking the other side, it's all about making the other side look as heinous and evil as possible. The vituperative atmosphere is almost unimaginable. Doug, that's a big word for nasty. Okay. Yeah, okay. Then it hit me. Adventureland is about fun, simply having fun. Being able to laugh, to be silly, to let your hair down if you have it, or if not, whatever. And it's something in contemporary society that we do too little of, and that's have fun. We need to relearn that a sense of humor is a good thing. Being able to laugh at yourself is cathartic, cleansing, and good for the soul. Being able to laugh at yourself makes you a better person. It's no secret that dear leader Saltzgaver and I enjoy making each other the butt of a joke, but we know it's done in affection, not in malice. Right? That was an affirmative on Doug's part. It's amazing what has happened since someone looked at an inclined plane and a screw and thought, if I make this steep enough and fast enough, people will ride it and scream at the top of their lungs. Although I understand that some theme parks in Japan are not letting people yell on rides. And if that is indeed the case at Adventureland this summer, you're going to have to update the website. So, in closing, just remember what Charlie Chaplin said. A day without laughter is a day wasted. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the 4-way test, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Please socially greet your fellow Rotarians. I don't want to give up the mic.
Thank you, Skeet, for that very mediocre inspiration. Last week, Kathy Cody, our Community Services Committee Chair, shared a volunteer opportunity to help our community grant recipient, the Des Moines Public Library Foundation. Volunteers are needed on Friday, April 30th from 4 to 6 p.m. to help with the Dia del Niño event at Birdland Park in Des Moines. To sign up, please contact Kathy Cody, or the Rotary office can help you. More details about this were in last Tuesday's email bulletin, which I'm sure all of you read and memorized. And as we've said before, members are the lifeblood of our Rotary Club. Hopefully you know how much each and every one of your existing members means to us. And as you know, it is essential that we attract new members to our club. So don't forget about our special members dues initiative that we instituted last month. We're waiving the initiation fee and giving our new members a 50% off the dues. We sent out the materials to everyone in March. If you need a copy of these materials, please let Kitty know. And remember, prospective members are allowed at our in-person meetings here, as long as they're with a fellow Rotarian, and they must RSVP as well. Today, Chris Anderson will introduce our speaker, but first, just another reminder, when it's time for questions, please come up front to the microphone. Kitty will hand you a freshly sanitized mic for you to hold. State your name for the live streaming guests so they know who is asking the question. And please speak directly into the microphone like I am doing, not like this. Oh, or you'll get the nasty sign that says talk into the microphone. And again, when you're done with your question, Kitty will sanitize that microphone for the next speaker. So Chris, come on up and do your thing.
Thanks, Keith. Well, Kitty, make sure you put one more new member on his tab on his goal, because as I was talking to him and trying to make fun and trying to have that good-natured camaraderie, he proceeded to tell me that Kiwanis was looking for new members. So yes, he does not limit it to just skeet. So one thing I remember too, that there's a movie that came out a couple years ago that still sticks with me. It's called Tag. If any of you have seen it, there's a line in there that I continually remember, and of course I thought it very appropriate for today. You don't stop playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing. I will never stop playing, much to my wife's chagrin. So without further ado, I want to be able to introduce you to Jeff Delvaux. I got to meet him a few years ago, and as we were talking, we found out we're both fellow Longhorns, so we connected instantly. So much to Skeet's dismay, being a Sooner. Del was in radio for nearly 34 years, sales, management, and ownership. From 2004 to 2018, he was director of sales and general manager at Des Moines Radio Group. For the past 18 months, he's been executive director of the Give Foundation, Golf for Injured Veterans everywhere in Iowa. But first and foremost, he is a partner and sponsor sales for Adventureland, and that's the reason why he's here today. Without further ado, Del. Yeah, I know, exactly.
Well, you're quite a group. A lot of good infighting there. You're going to want to stick around to the end. I have a little drawing for 4 tickets to Adventureland, but no Oklahoma Sooners can win. So everybody else is in. Chris set me up for that. You can bet that. Thank you for having me here today, and it's a real pleasure and an honor. I've been in radio for a long time. Actually, I'm an independent contractor with Adventureland. I probably screwed him up on that. But in a moment, you'll understand my deep interest in our wonderful amusement park. I have a small sales staff that handles sponsorship sales for the park because I spend 98% of my time raising money for veterans, for injured veterans to learn how to golf. And that's really what I do. Speaking of golfers, do we have a few in the room? I figure since I'm at Wakanda, okay, good. I used to golf. and I was a pretty good driver, actually. If you had the distance on my slice, I was really good. Oh, well, Chris, by the way, you're supposed to bring one hand up on my jokes so everybody knows when to laugh, and two hands for applause. So my wife used to go with me, but we both had pretty bad eyesight. So I would tick off more than my share of golfers as I was looking for my ball. So my wife had enough, and she said, why don't you bring Scott out? You know, he has eagle. You say he has eagle eyes, you know, when you go hunting, and he's gonna be much more fun than me. So the next time we went, we were coming up on the 9th fairway, dog leg to the right, and it was a par 5. And I got ready to get into it, and Scott said, well, that should go nicely with your slice. I gave him a look. Well, I really did get into it. And Scott said, what a beautiful shot. You saw it, I asked? He says, oh yeah, you're gonna love it. So off down the fairway we go, and I'm driving around, and I said, Scott, you saw it, where'd it go? He said, I can't remember. So, Chris. Needless to say, I dropped, took a stroke, and never golfed with him again. Lesson in life, choose your golf partners very carefully. You probably, if any of you do know me, I do see a few people I recognize, know me as Del, and you probably wonder, you know, where does, you know, Delvaux, but it was given to me in 8th grade, and I'm from Wisconsin, don't hold that against me, but everything in Wisconsin's 3 letters, der, die, das, del, you know, we're not smart enough to go above 3 letters, so that's our Germanic background. We drink BER and we eat CHZ, so beer and cheese, 3 letters. With that, I want to tell you about my relationship with Adventureland. It's kind of unique. My son-in-law is the general manager of Adventureland. My son is the bank manager, and my daughter is the CFO. And she became the CFO at 26. She was underneath a different CFO. She's been the CFO for since she was 28 years old. Obviously, my kids are very smart, and one day we hope to meet the father, because I can't find him. With that, also, I want to tell you a little bit about the history. How many of you are from Iowa? Well, first of all, I'm not going to make you do this, but how many of you been to Adventureland in the last 10 years? Just a quick show of hands. Oh, fabulous. Because quite frankly, until I had grandchildren, I hadn't been to Adventureland in a long time. Now I have a 6-year-old grandson who thinks he owns Adventureland because he's there every day with his dad. Adventureland has a rich history and is family-owned and operated theme park that's provided, as we said, we're talking about earlier, memories for families for over the last 40 years. Was that me? It all began in the spring. Is that my cutoff? Oh, we're not ready for that yet. It all began in the spring of 1973 when bulldozers plowed under fields just east of Des Moines to reshape the contour of the land to make for what is now Iowa's largest tourist attraction, Adventureland Park. Adventureland was supposed to open in July of 74, and for those of you who are living here, but damage to the tail end of a tornado caused a delay of opening until late August. Imagine that, tornadoes in Iowa. Adventureland's first full season of operation began in 75. That's when we first got the Sky Ride from the World's Fair in Spokane, Washington. If you didn't know that, I thought that was kind of neat. Lady Luck and Tilt-A-Whirl were added to the ride roster. The Flitzer was also built, and the stage for Soda and Sounds, which is now the Coca-Cola stage, was built that year. In 1977, another tornado hit, and it was while we were building the wooden roller coaster that still is there. Now, you see, if you've been there in a while, you've seen a lot of our new rides, but believe it or not, that wooden roller coaster is the most secure roller coaster anywhere. And of course, aptly named the Tornado because it was built that year. One by one, the list of rides and attractions grew during the next decade. We brought in the Raging River, the Galleon, the Falling Star, and the Balloon Race. Of course, the park offers much more than just rides. if you've been there probably in the last 2 years, we have over 10,000 different individual plants throughout the park. The park has its own greenhouse on site and grows all of its own flowers. How many are familiar with Rennett's Greenhouse? They went out of business a couple of years ago. We hired the whole staff from Rennett's Greenhouse, or at least the owners and a couple other people. I say we because, as I said, I'm family. I mean, basically, the Crances consider me family because everybody in my family works there. The growing continued, and the very next year, Adventureland's giant sky wheel took shape to the park skyline. And if you notice, we don't call it a Ferris wheel, it's a giant sky wheel. And it can be seen, it has just 6,000 lights, it can be seen for miles, and is the largest open gondola wheel manufactured since G.W. Ferris built his wheel in Chicago, at the Chicago Exposition. And if you've ever read anything about the Chicago Exposition, it's quite a book, and the building of that was amazing, but that's how the Ferris wheel first got its name. But we call ours the Giant Sky Wheel. As you know, the park continues to expand, and we've continued to the decades, adding the Outlaw, the Sidewinder, the Space Shot, and of course, I think the thing that's really made a huge difference for Adventureland is Adventure Bay. Because if you went there 10 years ago, on a hot day, we didn't have many options. You were on the rides, then you had to stand in line for the Raging River, and of course, by the time you went through, you got a little wet, and then you got real hot again. Well, now you have options, and what's really great about Adventureland in my mind is that it's one price. If you go down to our neighbors down south, and I'm certainly not trying to talk negatively, it's just the facts. You pay two different prices for the water park, one for the water park, one for the Worlds of Fun, and one's Oceans of Fun. So to get two parks for one price is still, and it's become it's still an unbelievably inexpensive vacation for a family. Less than $50 a ticket. So family of four, $200. And of course, if you live here, I'd highly recommend you want to get the family pass. I don't know what you do for a vacation, but our idea of a vacation is going to an all-inclusive, laying on the beach, going to the swim-up bar, eating. Well, what's great is I know a lot of people who are in their 30s and 40s, and what they do is they buy the season pass, and every weekend they go stay at the Adventure Bay and sit at the swim-up bar. It's like being in the Bahamas, only you're right at home. And I hear a lot of great things about that. And if you listen to the advertising, right before Christmas, it's a great gift to give to your grandchildren is to buy them a park pass. Because once you've gone, it's usually about $99. So once you've gone twice, you've more than paid for yourself. Adventure Bay now includes 20 water slides, Iowa's longest lazy river, rental cabanas, a swimming pool with a swim-up bar, as I previously said, kids splash pad, food and retail stands, and a 25,000 square foot wave pool and kids activity pool and more. In 2014, Adventureland, we added the Storm Chaser, a 260-foot, $4 million giant tower swing ride. Not my cup of tea. Can't do it. Now, I do love the 24-tap German beer garden that we added in 2015, right, Chris? Deutschland. And then 2016, probably one of the most incredible rides I've ever been not on is the Monster. My daughter was the first one to go on it. She went on it twice. She still hasn't gotten me on it. And I don't know about you, but I love roller coasters. I used to really love them. But every time I get on one and I'm going up that hill on the first drop, I go, what was I thinking? Scares the living daylights out of me. And if you've been on the Monster, and I saw somebody in the back there nodding, that first drive is straight up, and you know what's coming next. But that was first one built in this country by a company out of Germany. And if you notice it also wraps around the Sky Rider and goes throughout the park, and it's pretty amazing. 2 years ago, we added the Phoenix. And that's if you haven't been on that ride, it's really crazy. Four of you sit. It's kind of, you remember the old tilt-a-whirl where you sit in with a family? Imagine being on a tilt-a-whirl, but on a roller coaster. How am I doing for time? Good. Yeah, so you're sitting in the four of you, but you're going around and back and forth, and I get a little sick just thinking about it, but it's a cool ride. This year, we took out a ride, the Dragon, and we put in a new ride called the Dragon Slayer. So we're expecting big things. Every time we put in a new ride, we see a huge increase in attendance. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's actually not a club I would join, but there's clubs all over the world that go just to where there's they just ride roller coasters, and they go all over the world. And we had people from China, Japan, England, I forgot what other country. There was like 4 countries that I know of that came here to get on the monster when we first built it. And we should be seeing the same thing again. So it's kind of fun. So that's pretty much one thing I would like to add, and I didn't really bring it up because I think we're all wearing masks and we know what's been happening. But I can tell you last year, we didn't have a single incident throughout the season because of the amount of precautions we took of COVID being traced back to the park. So I thought that was pretty amazing. And I can tell you the amount of stuff we had to buy to take care of the sanitation would boggle your mind. A big expense we certainly weren't planning on before the pandemic. So with that, I'd like to just tell you a little bit about what my staff does. Like I said, I just oversaw. I actually went to Adventureland a couple of years ago when I retired from radio and said, "Hey, why don't you sell sponsorships at the park?" And Mike said to me, "I've never had anybody I knew." He says, "I make memories. I don't do advertising." He goes, "I do amusement parks. I don't do advertising." I said, "Well, I'd like to put together a proposal for you." And I said, "I think people, would jump at the chance to get their names out in front of." By the way, 650,000 people attended the park 2 years ago. That's when you think about it. What is our population in Iowa? 3.5 million. It's about pretty good. So two years in a row, we were over 600,000. We were obviously, like a lot of businesses, down last year, but 95% of our people that attend are from Iowa. We do get 5%, mostly from Omaha, a little bit from Minnesota, but and last year, one of the reasons our attendance stayed pretty good is Valley Junction in Minnesota never opened, and I'm not sure if Wisconsin Dells opened or not. They might have. But anyway, I know that Valley Junction didn't, so we had a lot of people from Minnesota. So obviously it's a huge attraction to Iowa, an extremely huge attraction for Des Moines and the money that it brings in. With that, I want to, who has the, go ahead. Well, I sure wasn't going to try to do it. As I said to you before, 1974 is when we started. We're probably going to try to work on, we're getting ready to start working on our 50-year celebration, which is pretty exciting. I have asked to help out with that. Hopefully I'm retired by then, trying. As we say, really, I loved your Skeet. Despite your being an Okie, that was a nice introduction about having fun, because this isn't about Republicans or Democrats, left, right. It's about all of us. It's about Americans. We can all have fun at Adventureland and make memories, and that's really what life is all about. As I just mentioned briefly, who takes part? We do get people from around other states, here and there, but 95% of people come from Iowa, and I think that's great and I think we'll see it this year especially. A lot of people are still taking staycations. I know I don't get my second shot till next week, and we still aren't going to get on a plane for a while, but we'll certainly drive to a few places, and I think that will be the case with a lot of people. Iowa, some facts about Iowa. As you know, 18th best place in the state to make a living. Over half of our population is considered middle class. We welcome, like I said, 95%, and approximately this is real important, 30% of our guests come within an hour of Adventureland. So if you figure 650,000, about 200,000 come from within an hour, probably, or within an hour. Here's our map. Looks familiar, I'm sure, to a lot of you. As you'll find in a second here, there's many, many opportunities for sponsorships in the park. You can, and we can, let's get you on our map. There we go. Here's some of our people that have been with us. You and I just joined us. Looks like I'm missing it. I thought I had one in the upper left-hand corner there. 360 Painting, Iowa State. If you haven't seen their display, and I know there might be probably Hawkeye fans, I'm surprised Iowa hasn't approached us, and we tried to get a hold of them, but Iowa State's done an incredible job. They took over the wave pool, and it caught with their slogan, Catch the Wave, and they do the monster, and so Iowa State's done a really nice job. UNI is going to be in the park this year. Outlets was a really interesting story. They only had the money to do the first year, and they were so happy with the advertising. Obviously, the proximity helped, but the corporate office has financed them 2 more years, so we're really excited about that. And then the Vermeers, and I know who I'm missing. Grinnell Mutual's not up there. I wonder why that has. I have to redo my one sheet. Okay. There we go. Maybe that's the problem. Hit it again, Chris. Community choice, come and go. Grinnell Mutual, Elder, there they are. I knew there was some blanks, but you got me. Okay, those are some biggies. You can see what Community Choice did here. They did a building. We can tell if you go down Main Street there, you could have your own building. They did a really nice job. Got a lot of compliments on that. Grinnell Mutual also did a building. Vermeer did the ice cream store, which I thought was pretty smart because 90% of the people go to the ice cream store. And okay. Here's some of the other places. You can see we do the parking lots, we do the entryways. Elder has done Bernie's Barnyard the last few years. And then there's even at the very bottom there, you can see the cabanas. We also have places in Adventure Bay for cabanas and places for signage. There they are. Park benches have become a real popular item. We also own Adventureland Inn, and if you've never been to Spectators, the sports bar, you can also advertise inside of on the scroll there at Spectators. Also inside the inn, if you wanted wristbands, we can make that happen. The wristbands are now to get into your room. So, and that's a year-round thing versus just during the summer. And there you can see it. Make Waves with Iowa State. Go ahead. And so we'd like to, offer up the chances. We also had RV1 talk to us about having a RV at the RV park. We could certainly do something like that. We've even talked about we have a couple new suites at Adventureland Inn if you wanted your own specialized suite. And you get a chance to stay there, and you can decorate it up the way you want. So we're pretty much trying to do a lot of things with the park and with Adventureland Inn. Quickly, how am I doing for time? Okay. Quickly, I want to tell you about our newest feature this year. We are doing, and it's not on here. It's called Sunset on the Boulevard, and we are going to do, live music again. Aren't we all ready for that? At least I am. I've been to a lot of concerts in my lifetime. I've been very fortunate being in radio, going to school in Texas where the Austin City Limits was, and lots of live music. Got to see many, 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 many concerts in my lifetime. Too many to count sometimes. And I'm missing the sheet that I wanted. Okay, but let me tell you about what's coming to Sunrise on the Boulevard, or Sunset on the Boulevard. It starts June 4th. It's going to run for 10 straight weeks. and we'll be looking for a title sponsor, or you can sponsor individual weeks. And we're going to have we're starting out with the Spasmatics in the first week, and Martha's Play Yard ends the season, and then we go right into Oktoberfest. Have any of you ever been to Oktoberfest? It's a good time, isn't it? It's the only time that kids, anybody under 20, it's for 21 and over. And so there's no kids in the park, so it has a whole unique flavor. We open up the rides. We do 15 stages, and we do music all day long, all kinds of fun rides. I mean, all kinds of fun games. We have bags. We put the Iowa game on, or Iowa State game. I think 2 years ago they were on at the same time, so we made that work out. But 15 stages, music all day. We usually have a big headliner. Can't tell you who the headliner is yet, but be coming soon. And that's how we finish our year. There was a time we 2 years ago we did a New Year's Eve party. We might bring that back, but that is Adventureland. So I appreciate you having me here. And with that, I got a quick trivia question. Chris, you want to just stand up and help me? Because I'm going to have you shout out the answer for 4 tickets to Adventureland, and see if you can, between us, figure out who gets it right or answers it first. Now, I'm from Green Bay. Don't hold it against me if you're a Viking or Bear fan, but I actually played my high school games on Lambeau Field, which was pretty interesting. We didn't have a stadium until 1981. So, in fact, my 45-year class reunion's coming up, and the football team is going to Lambeau, and we're going to get our picture taken on the field, so we're pretty excited about that. And we were the only team at Southwest to ever win the state championship. So 45 years, we're hoping it happens again. But anyway, it's an NFL question. I'm an NFL freak. So here's the question. How many teams have never won the Super Bowl? What? Nope. 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 Who said 12? 12 it is. Okay, now name them. We know the Cleveland Browns and the Lions. And another quick trivia point, which I thought was interesting because I didn't know this. And I used to be a sports writer. I was in Green Bay, got to cover the Packers, but that's a whole nother part of my life. The Arizona Cardinals are the oldest team to never win a championship. And they actually date the Arizona Cardinals back to 1884, which I thought was interesting. And of course, I thought the answer was it said what was the oldest franchise not to win, and I thought it would have been Detroit, because Detroit was one of the original owners or one of the original franchises in the NFL. And but they did win the championship in 1957. In fact, Detroit was pretty darn good in the 50s. Since then, they've only won 2 playoff games. So, but anyway, that's. If you want, see me afterwards. I got 4 tickets for you for Adventureland, and thank you very much, Chris. This is where you put up both your hands for lots of applause. I hope you learned a little something about Adventureland today, and just feel free to. I got cards, or it's Jeff@adventurelandpark.com, and I'll get you in touch with one of my salespeople. Questions? Oh, you have a separate one from, okay. Uh-oh. I knew he was trouble the moment he walked in. Hey, Skeet.
Hi, Del. Who was the quarterback for the Lions in the 50s?
It was Night Train Lane.
From what school?
Iowa. No. Oklahoma.
No. University of Texas.
Oh, of course he was.
So,
yeah, very good. Sorry
that's
about
from a Sooner. Okay. My question is, well, I have 2 now. Why do you not know Texas trivia is one? No.
I'm a Packer.
Okay. All right.
NFL.
Walt Disney and Disneyland are the largest theme parks in the world, and they strategically have a trash receptacle about every 30 feet, and the parks are kept immaculately clean. Now, I'm sure that Adventureland does not have the vacuum suction systems that they do at Disneyland, but do you have something similar as far as spacing of trash receptacles, and how often do you have to really scrub the park?
Boy, you are way above my pay grade with that one. It's constant. If you are out there, just like Disneyland, I've never seen a piece of paper on the ground. We don't have we do at night. We do the suction thing, but basically we hire. If you know, you can go to work at Adventureland at age 14, and which is what's made it such a popular place. What is it? When you grow up in Iowa, you either worked at Adventureland or you detassel corn. Aren't those like the two things? And if you detassel corn, you were really brave. So I do know we have tons and tons of that. But yeah, I will tell you, the last year we also the masking thing was a big deal, but we really did a lot with cleaning of the rides and everywhere else. Yes, our trivia winner. What is your name?
Hey, Del. Carter Smith, first off, thank you for the tickets. And
you bet.
Full transparency, I'm a transplant of Iowa. I've only been here for a couple years, and I have not been. So
yay.
I'm excited to attend. And,
where are you from?
Minnesota. Don't hold it against me.
That's okay. Where at?
Detroit Lakes.
Oh, sure.
Yep.
I lived in Duluth for 3 years and 2 years in Minneapolis. So
wow.
I've actually spent some time. I did time in Duluth, is the way I used to put it, because it's the coldest place on earth. And summer's great there if you can find the 2 weeks that the summer happens. You know what I mean? Well, Detroit Lakes is pretty close to that.
It's way too cold. No, it's good to be further south. But honestly, my question is just going to help me when I attend here coming up. And can you describe a typical day for a family? Obviously, they're attending the park. There's a bunch of different options. Could you kind of describe what they might do?
Well, it varies, with everybody. I mean, if you go with my grandson, he could take you through the whole park, be your guide. I went out with him in the water park, and this is even when he just turned 6. We went to the water park last year, and he took me through the whole park. Grandpa, we got to go on this one. Grandpa, we got to go over here. Grandpa, kids catch on pretty quick. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to come in, in a lot of parks, you're always going to have long lines and stuff like that. Go to, when we go to Disney World or those kinds of places, go to the back of the park, work that, make your afternoon towards the water park because, it's getting hot. But you're going to want to bring swimsuits. You can go in and out. We don't, you get stamped. You can go to so if you want to kind of keep your costs down, you can get your food out. We want, love to have you buy it in the park. We're very reasonably priced, but you're going to go, you can hit most rides in a day. Who's that in the pink back there? You seem like you know the park pretty well. Okay. But you can pretty much hit every ride if you do it right, can't you, in a day? I mean, I think you can if you choose to. So, and then again, it depends on your age. We do have a kids area. We have lots of roller coasters. If you like the roller coasters, and you said you haven't been there, yeah, we have all sizes. We have the indoor, we have small ones, we have the monster, the tornado, now the Dragon Slayer and the Phoenix. So we got you covered and usually not that long of a wait. So thank you. That's a great question. And now you'll get to experience it firsthand.
Mark Snell. Quick question for you as far as the Krantz family.
Yes.
Where are they in the mix of management or not? And just kind of give us a little update on maybe where that multi-generation of family leadership is today with the organization.
Great question. I was actually going to put that in the history, and I got the history part from Molly Vincent. There's 3 kids who own Adventureland. Mike Krantz, Molly Vincent, who's Molly Krantz formerly, and Matt Krantz. And Jack was the one who started it, the father. Interesting note about that, and I didn't bring it up, but he actually traveled the state looking for investors. I've actually run into people who said, "Oh, my dad invested in Adventureland way back. Ironworks, the Ironworks supply. Her dad invested, and that's how Jack got it started." And what was the name of the park? I looked it up. I think it was Riverview. Isn't that what the original? Wasn't there a small amusement park, Riverview? Now they're rebuilding it. Jack bought some of the earliest rides from Riverview to start Adventureland. Today, Mike is 10 years younger or so than his brother and sister. He's the one who sat on Dad's lap and learned the business. Molly and Matt are both lawyers, but they both have all three of them work at the park year round. But it's nice to have a couple lawyers in the family. You can check out the. But Mike was the guy who sat on Jack's lap and learned the business. He's 36 years old. He and my son-in-law have been best friends since they were 4. My son-in-law's been there since he was 14. But and then he went on to be a teacher and worked there during the summer. And now he's the general manager. But he's the CEO. What Jack did and Mike did brilliantly, in my opinion, and having been in management most of my life, Jack surrounded himself by people who were still with him right up till, in fact, I think there's still 1 or 2 hangers on from the Jack era, and you're talking 47 years. That's a long time. But he found people that he really trusted, and he had the same core. Well, Mike's done the exact same thing. He has 10 people around him that he's hired, that he basically, he's a very good manager. He understands that you hire good people when you let them do their job.
Thank you for being here today. My name is John Lewis, and I'm probably one of the few in the room who remembers when Jack Krantz came to town, and I think Jay Glassnap was working with him at that time.
Jay was, yep.
And I remember, when you were selling the shares, et cetera. But I remember those days, and there just wasn't total acclaim for the success of this new thing that they were talking about. And I've thought over the years, what kind of planning and what kind of thinking went into their activities at that time that gave them the faith to continue with this idea, which, quite frankly, was a little bit strange to Central Iowa at that time? Well,
the interesting answer is who brought up Disney. If you've ever seen the movie, everybody thought Walt was kind of crazy too, and it was not very well accepted. And Jack really didn't know what he just had this idea. He owned some land, and he really, really didn't know anything about the amusement business. And like many of us, how many of us are doing the job that we thought we'd do when we were growing up? Never thought I'd be in radio. In fact, I had no intention of being in radio. I wanted to teach and coach football. And I did so in Texas for a little while and got a job in radio. And 33 years later, and I had to learn everything about radio there was to learn. So he really learned it by the old-fashioned way, and 50 years ago, and got his hands dirty. I have to tell you one thing that really fascinated me, having been a part of the overall family. You have no idea, and I'm going to use an example of anybody who's ever been put on a wedding. You know how you go to a wedding and everything just seems to be perfect, but for 2 years or a year, everything's frantic right up to the last minute. My musician didn't show up for our wedding. So I'm scrambling in the back of the church looking for music, and my wife has no idea. My wife-to-be has no idea. And when she walks in and hears this music, she was like, I could just see her eyes going, what the heck is going on? But what's cool about Adventureland is it's literally year-round. I am amazed at how much work goes into keeping that going. Now, a water park, basically it's water, pumps, and plastic, but everything else is mechanical. And you don't, and of course it's all got to be OSHA inspected and all that. And I think that's what they've done over the years is they've just gotten better and better. But Mike, like I said, Mike's been on Dad's lap since he was 5. He's 35. He seems to know the business inside and out, and I have a great, great respect for them. And the 3 of them are very, very good. And that,
One quick question from Sharon Vickery. She wants to know, when are you going to bring back the Tilt-A-Whirl to Adventureland?
to be determined. I actually think that I actually asked that. I was talking about that. I do believe it's coming back, but not. Well, we're always trying to update and clearing land and moving things around, but I'm sure we will. But tell her to try the Phoenix. It's a tilt-a-whirl on ice skates. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I was didn't know what to expect today, so it's been a while since I've had a great group of people that I've had to speak to, because I used to run. I had 72 employees. I had to speak in front of them all the time, but it's been a few years, so thank you.
Thank you, Del, for being with us today and for your informative presentation. And we are donating the book, My Book of Gymnastics, to the Downtown School Library in your honor. And I know you've scribbled in some words of encouragement to our young readers. And Kitty selects these books, and we never know how they're going to fit our speaker. And being a former football coach, and also a former gymnast, he tells us. So he says he can still do a hand press. Well, maybe not. Maybe a push today, but I did one at my daughter's wedding 5 years ago. They didn't think I could do it. Okay. All right.
Of course, I might have had a little liquid encouragement.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. And thank everyone in the room for being here with us today, and those out watching our live stream and watching later on YouTube. And we do have some upcoming speakers. Next week is our Educator of the Year Awards. And we do believe that most of them are going to be here in person. So that'll be exciting. April 22nd, Kathy Obradovich, Capital Dispatch. And just when you think it cannot get any better, April 29th, our local scholarships program. 6 Des Moines Public School seniors will receive a 4-year, $8,000 scholarship. That's $8,000 for their entire college career. I've been on that committee in previous years, and that's a fun one to be on. The goals are very simple for that committee. We take your money and we give it to someone else. That's not going to work for a number of years. Thank you for being with us here today, being part of your Rotary Club of Des Moines, and thanks for those tuning in later. And as always, as I say, please think about leaving something behind this week as you go to your jobs, go back home, out in your community. With that, we are adjourned.